Hey everybody, this is Craig from 9 Volt Games. I'm got to talk about some eyes are burning. Got to talk about something important today. Mick Gordon, Bethesda, and well, it's Mick Gordon in id, but Bethesda owns id. So Mick Gordon won't be making music for Bethesda games, so id games anymore, which kind of sucks. I read the whole story. They put out an open letter. Was it Mike Stratton put out an open letter explaining the situation and why they're not going to be working together from their perspective. And then Mick Gordon also put out his perspective, and they clashed, and they're not going to be working together anymore. So there is DLC coming up, single player DLC coming up for Doom Eternal. And Mick Gordon will not be doing the music for it. That sucks. Music and video games, to me, like, obviously, I have a fucking YouTube channel that I've done with no monetary gain whatsoever for the last 10 years. It's been 10 years. And I still, as much as I've given up, I still continue doing them. I've quit a million times, but I still continue doing videos. So obviously video games are huge in my life. And if you follow me on any social media, you know that music is huge into my life too, because I share songs all day. I listen to music when I'm not around my kids. I'm usually listening to something. I actually have the Doom Eternal soundtrack paused. It was playing through my surround sound. And this sucks because I feel like Mick Gordon's work, I know he did music on Prey, he did music on Wolfenstein and such, but the music that he did for Doom was probably, in my opinion, aside from the first and second Silent Hill, I think it was the best marriage of video games and music together, and it fits so well. Peanut butter and jelly, peas and carrots, fucking pineapple on pizza. Fuck you, that shit's good. But I don't. There's like, this sucks. I can see both sides being right too. That's the worst part. It's not like you can blame one or the other. But here's my take on it. All right. So is this dude he probably has that prima donna attitude. But I also feel like it's acceptable for you to kind of be a bitch about something if you're the creator of it. You know what I mean? Like they said, like when Konami said that Kojima is difficult to work with. It wasn't lost on me. I'm sure that dude's extremely hard to work with. When you give someone near infinite resources and creativity, like free range, all that stuff, I imagine that they, take a lot of liberties and they take their time, and they probably do get an attitude about it. Be like, well, I'm the talent, so what I say goes. And that's gotta suck to deal with. I was a supervisor at my last job, and I used to have to deal with a guy who was like, he did great work, but he had that fucking attitude. And I used to have to check him for it. But at the same time, there's only so much you can do because the guy produces so much work. That's the equivalent of what they were dealing with at id with Mick Gordon. Now, where it came down to it, where they basically parted ways, Bethesda and id will say that they said that they will no longer work with Mick Gordon. Mick Gordon actually said at first, I doubt we'll be working together in the future. And here's why. If you ordered the collector's edition of Doom, like I did, you were promised to get that Doom Eternal official soundtrack. What happened was there's 59 fucking tracks, and it has to be mixed together. They can't just pull the sound off of the fucking game and put it on a CD. It doesn't work that way. The way that the music was made, while it's not revolutionary in video games, it's revolutionary in this game, is you'll be walking and you'll hear like, not that song, but you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you'll get in a new area, and then more instruments or another segment of the song. You get into a fight, more bass, more shredding, more of this. They're all hooks. They hook into each other as you do things. So they have to be master mixed, pretty much. Mick Gordon needs to say, this is the way that, you play it, so this is the way you hear it, but this is the way that I want you to hear it on a record. Supposedly, he only did, and id saying it's not true, but I'm going to go with the creator on this one. Supposedly, it took so long and he whiffed the deadlines, right? That's shitty. However, people still aren't taking into account, and they're just siding with id. Bethesda pre-order bonuses, do you really want them rushed? Does anybody remember the fucking canvas bag? Anybody? if they're going to give you a soundtrack of something that you know is amazing because you already played the game, wouldn't you want them to take the time? I don't care if I had to wait a fucking year for the soundtrack. There is a huge difference between the ones that were mixed by Mick Gordon and the ones that were mixed by the other lead audio designer, the guy that came in to help Mick Gordon. Now, supposedly, Mick Gordon only actually mixed 12 of the tracks. There's a guy on YouTube who uploaded the entire fucking soundtrack, and he split out which ones were done by Mick Gordon, and you can tell there is a huge difference. That's not to say that, you know, this other audio designer is terrible at his job, and it's not to say that the music that they're going to put in Doom next is going to be terrible, because it's not. It's just not going to have the same feel. And that really, really sucks. Like, they got to repair this, because my favorite part of the last two Doom games was the soundtrack, because while the gameplay is great, and obviously I play it a lot and I love it, the soundtrack I listen to in my car. I listen to it while I'm driving around sometimes. I listen to it in my house while I'm cleaning, like I was now before I saw this story start popping up all over the place. And it's a part of the game that I can take with me, and it doesn't have to do with the gameplay. It doesn't have to do with the story. It's just an awesome thing. I feel music in my fucking soul. So I wouldn't have minded waiting a long time to get this soundtrack if it was the way that the original artist intended. So while it is kind of playing the victim card, like, hey, we made deadlines for this guy, and they're acting like they did everything to accommodate him, and I don't doubt that they did, but coming out and like, I read the open letter, and they were passive aggressive in it, because they were basically like, Mick Gordon's a great composer, he deserves all of the accolades that he got, he deserves the awards that he got for the previous game, and I hope he, you know, gets the same for Doom Eternal because he deserves it. And then comes around and is like, but our other guy is great too. No, don't do that. Don't, like, if you want to be like, this guy's acting like a bitch and he needs more time. I'm sure anybody who actually wanted the soundtrack portion, like you specifically ordered that version to get the soundtrack, I don't think we would have minded waiting at all. I know I wouldn't have. So get your shit together, guys. It's not going to be the same. I'm telling you. And before anybody says, well, it's just, you know, it's just metal and industrial, it's what it is. It's metal music and industrial music, and it goes so well with it. He mixed the old stuff with the new stuff. Authorization, Olivia Pierce, like, somebody else could have done that. They could have brought up the old song and made it awesome, but he made it that way, and that's why I like it. And I think that's why a lot of us like the music in this, is because it's the way that he made it. It's the equivalent of when Silent Hill didn't have Akira anymore, and they had David Litch. David Litch in his own right is a fucking amazing composer. He is. Everyone knows the Dexter song. He's the guy who did it. Like, and then he came in and he did Downpour. Downpour's music was not as good. It didn't fit the aesthetic. It sounded like Dexter. And I did not enjoy it at all. And that, like I've always said about Downpour, if they called Downpour something else and took the Silent Hill stuff out, it would have been off. They could have just called the shit Downpour. Then the music would have fit. But the fact that you were trying to force me into Silent Hill with somebody else's music, right off the bat, I noticed that shit. No matter how hard you try and emulate it. And it's going to be the same thing with Doom. I'm going to go in and I'm going to be like, this is a good game. And I guarantee you the music's still going to be good, but it's not going to have the same fucking feel. That half of the aesthetic is the music, and it's gone. Music, sound effects, all that stuff that meshes together so well. This dude did painstakingly hard work to make it happen. And I don't doubt that there's somebody else who can do it just as good. It just won't be the same. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this stuff? Usually I don't talk about squabbles between employees and employers in the video game industry unless it's really big, like when it was with Kojima, because that just totally deteriorated a studio. A publisher. But this one's different because there's not going to really be any backlash against it. It's not that level of thing. It's just something that affects me and my gaming choices, because Doom's one of my favorite games of this generation, both Doom games, and Doom Eternal is my second favorite game that came out this year. So let me know what you guys think of this. I get panicky when there's change in my personal life, and I take this one personal because I fucking listen to this music every day. But let me know what you guys think. Hope everybody's having a safe Sinkhole de Mayo. Thank you guys for watching.